Upam nitan choisen hatabas lehamon. So sometimes the tabas is given to Haman. We find this extreme. In the beginning, Achashverosh gave the tabas, the ring, to Haman. Upam, and then it says Vayitna leMordechai. He gave it to Mordechai. Afal pi sherechoikim mizeh betachlis. Mordechai and Haman are totally distant. Is kilifnei asmus hamelech hakil shavim. But when you talk about the essence of the king, everybody is equal. Like it says, that just like darkness, like light. So the tabas, which is the level of makif, which is the level of the asmus hamelech, it can go sometimes to Haman, and it could go sometimes to Mordechai. Bezehu Shamar Haman, and this is what Haman says: "V'sus asher rochav olav hamelech." The sus on which the king rides. We talked about before the sus, the hamshachas, and the halos that come through the sus. And he says, "V'asher nitan keser malchus beroshei," and that which the crown of the malchus was put on his head. Keser malchus means the rotzin hamalucha. Pirush keser malchus. What is the meaning of the keser malchus, the crown malchus? Hainu b'chinas harotzin. That is the level of rotzin. Shehu keser lemidas hamalucha lemayla. That becomes the crown for the measure of melucha, for the midah of melucha above. That becomes the rotzin for melucha. Why do we need a rotzin for melucha? We have a king. We have the level of melucha. Why do we need a rotzin for melucha? The hine afal pisha nemar malchuscha malchus kol olam. Although it says that Hashem's malchus is a malchus kol olam, but a melech, you need to be on something which is separate from you. So how does the melucha work if all Yidden are really not, all the people, creations are not really separate from Hashem? They're all from Hashem. How could Hashem be a king over something which is not really separate from him? That you need the level of Ratz. So even though it says your kingdom is a kingdom of all worlds, so which means the Eibush is a melech over everything, but that is not sufficient. We need also a Ratz. We need for them to arouse the level of Ratzin for the Midas of Malchus. The Bemes ain't Melech B'yom. The truth is, there can't be a king without a people. So what does it mean, a people? A people means something which is separate from him. He's going to be a king over something separate. But v'harei ein davar nifrat chulu. But there is really nothing separate from Hashem. Achar shehu atzmai baro yesh me'ayin chulu. It is Hashem who created it from an entity from nothing. So it's really all Hashem. So it's not really separate from Hashem. So the question is, so how is it possible for him to be a king over them? But we have to draw down to Hashem at the light and a desire to want this expansion of the kingdom, as written elsewhere. And that is, like we said before, about the seal. So it has just letters of the king, but it's the rotzin of the king that dresses up. He wants to sign this. He wants to. That becomes like the chosim tabas. So he wants the transaction. He wants the signature to be the chulu v'dal, as he spoke about earlier. So, and this is the meaning Vashenitin Keser Malchus Beroishe. That it was given the Keser Malchus, the Rotzin Beroishe, Shenimsh Nitten V'Nimshach. Beroishe is this Sus Zeh. It was given, and it extends in the letters of this Sus. Chinas Pnimis Rotzin, the level of the inner will, Lias Rotzin V'Tainug L'Mlucha, to be a desire and a delight for Melucha. That's the Keser Malchus that it's in this Sus. She's a Nikra Keser Malchus. That's called the Keser Malchus, the crown Malchus. We say that in Omar Elio, Pasach Elio of Omar. We say in Shabbos, Keser Malchus, Alei Itmar Magid Mereshis Achris Chulu V'Day Lemevi. So Hinei. So once this desire, the rotzen, the keser of Malchus, is given into the sus, v'hasus sherochav olav hamelech, and the horse that the king rode on, hella oisoi lebchinas haroimimus v'hageus hanal, raised him to the level of exalted and the geus, in which it rejects the opposing forces, that it only rests on the Yidden alone. That is, that means the ring was given to Mordechai the Yehudi, which really means the Hainu, that is, Liyos Oyeves Yaakov Ves Esav Sanesi, to love Yaakov and hate Esav, which means through the Goya, the rejection of the Esav. V'gilui harotzin knesses, v'gilui harotzin the Knesset Yisrael davka. That's being the will for the Knesset Yisrael. V'lisna over etzonei chulu, and to hate those who violate the Rishonim only to Mordechai and not to only to Knesset Yisrael, and not to the Rishonim, not those who violate Hashem's will. Why is this expressed through giving the tabas? Agula. A ring is a circular. He remezes the bechinas makif b'sevim chulu. That hints to the level of a makif and surrounding. And Uknesses Yisrael, the Bechinas Makiv Soyev Shalahem, Hem Dvokim Ba'atzim Selakus. So the Knesset Yisrael, in a level that surrounds and circles them, they're connected in the essence of Hashem, which means we're connected to Hashem, not necessarily in a pnimius, but in a surrounding way. That's why all Yidden, even people that are not the pnimius connected to Hashem, they don't do Torah and mitzvahs, yet in a surrounding way they're connected. Because we see vividly by the Jewish people, even those who are diminished in value, which means they're not really on a high level. Hagam sheis aneg ma'usher v'koved harbe. Even though he's the light from the wealth and from the honor, a lot gives him a lot of pleasure, his wealth and his koved. But yet, im kol zeh ein zeh iker pnimis ritzonei. That's not really the inner of his will. V'loi nismalei kol iker ritzonei bazeh. That does not fill his entire wishes. So all this gashmis, all the covet, all the wealth didn't really give him inside, oh, this is really what I want. A Yid, the Makif, has connection to Hashem. Even if in a pnimius, in an expressive way, he wants all the other things. By God, that's his main will. So where does that come by a Yid? By the Yid, it's not some logical, some reason, some understanding why he's still not happy with the Oisher B'Kavod. This is, by the Yidden, this is higher than the reason and the intellect. This comes because of the root of their soul above, which we say the afal gav the iu lechazi, mazlei lemayla chazi. That even though that the person here, he himself doesn't see, like we find by the story that they saw the malach by the Chananim Shovazaria, and they didn't see. They got scared, but they didn't see. Sometimes things happen to us that because of our mazal above, we feel it down here, even though we don't have a reasonable, rational explanation why. Zeu she'amra Knesset Yisrael, simani ki choisem alibach. Place me like a seal on your heart. This is the seal, the makiv, the rotzen. Va'amru b'Zohar HaKodesh, and the Zohar HaKodesh says, ki choisem. What does it mean, place me like a seal? The afal gav the ozil hocha v'hocha, the yukne ishtayrbach. Although it goes here and here, but your face remains there. Pirush the yukne. What is the yukne? Hainu oisies achoisem. Those are the letters of the seal. Shaboy nisha rishimu b'bchinas pnimis v'ikar arosin kanal. Over there remains a mark, a rishimu, from the inner and main rotzin canal, in which a yid, no matter what, has that makiv dika connection to Hashem. Ches. B'zehu inyan purim b'chlal. This is generally the idea of purim. Hinei hatam shenikra purim hu al shem hapur. That is the pur. That's why it's called purim. The hapur hu agoydel. And what's the pur? The pur is the lottery. The idea is the fish on the royim shekol hayomim shehoyu bnei Yisrael besakona b'pnei gzeres Haman. All the days that the Yidden were in dangers because of the decree of Haman. Shenimshach hazman kimat meshech shana. It took almost a year. That the gzeir of Haman was almost for a year. They were all with self-sacrifice, actually, b'chol yom, every day, b'chol eis, every while, b'chol shah, every hour. Ki b'chol shah v'shah, for on every hour and hour, hoyu muchonim, limser nafshum lahariga, they were prepared, they were ready. Meaning the Yidden were ready to give over themselves, their lives to be killed. The loy laver das chas v'sholem, not to, God forbid, violate, transgress their religion, God forbid. The loy ola al shum echad mehem machshavas chut, and none, and not even on one of them, went up a thought of outside chas v'sholem. Nobody had any questions, any quarrels. They were totally dedicated. This must have been above reason and knowledge. This is not rational. The main concept, idea of Mesiras Nefesh, udafke kshe'eina oila alpi hatam v'hadas. Mesiras Nefesh is specifically when it doesn't make any sense, when it's not logical and reasonable. But there is in the books that bring about the fear of love Hashem, and those svarim, Musar svarim. Over there it states the Abba Apitam Vadas, this Apitam Veseichel Nikra Mesiras Nefesh, that when you have a love of Hashem based on your reason and intellect, that is called giving over your soul. Ze'enek. That's not Mesiras Nefesh. A love of Hashem that is based on seichel isn't Mesiras Nefesh. The Abba b'Mesiras Nefesh, he l'mayla min hatam v'aseichel davke, because love that you give over yourself to Hashem is beyond reason and seichel davke. Even if somebody sacrifices himself on Kiddush Hashem, actually, so he actually gives up his life. If he does it, if his intention is lahasik eze dover ma, if he wants to get something for it, for the Mesiras Nefesh, he's doing it, in other words, that he's hoping that he'll get Gan Eden for that, or whatever it is, he's going to get something, achieve something through the Mesiras Nefesh, through giving up his life. That is, for example, he's giving himself up, his life, so that he can get a reward. That's not called true Mesiras Nefesh. Kima Mosa Nafshe. Because what is it that you gave your life away? You didn't give anything up. You didn't give up. You're benefiting. You're making a great profit out of it. You're going to get a price for it. That's not giving up. You're giving up. You want something more. Why do we call that Mesiras Nefesh if you're doing it for the purpose to get something? That a person sacrifices his life. He wants to fill himself with a tremendous amount of fortune. So he sacrifices himself. Or he reaches through this becomes a big dominant, a big officer, becomes something very important. Although he actually gave up his life to reach that, this is not an example of true Mesiras Nefesh in a matter of serving Hashem. Why? Because that Mesiras Nefesh that's just to reach an objective which is more precious, which is more honorable. In Cain, he shekvar hoyo, that he was already mishuka b'ritzonosov hativim. He has been sunk in his natural desires. Same thing. It's all the natural desires that he wants. Now he's reaching a more precious desire. Same desire, but he gets a higher level of desire. The true level, true idea, concept of true Mesiras Nefesh, not to reach any want, any desire besides Hashem, Him alone. The pasuk says, "Mi li b'shamayim." There is nothing. What is to me in the heavens, and anything. And that's not possible. This can only be higher than the reason and knowledge. It can't be rationally achieved. It's higher than nature. Purim, and this is the idea of Purim, al shem hapur hu hagir. Hine, kemoy hagir, one just like a lottery. Sheyapilu goyrolis. They make a lottery that they're going to throw lotteries. Eich sheyap yipel hagoyro, kach yokum hadav. Whatever the lottery turns out, that's the way it's going to be. The person hangs his want the way the girdle will fall out, whatever the lot is going to be. When it falls yes or no, that's what he's going to want. He doesn't know what to do. Throws a lottery, make a decision to buy this or not to buy. He makes a lottery. So what he's going to want to do is the way the lottery comes out. That's what he's going to want to do. So then he hinges not on what the revealed level of rotzen, but he hinges the rotzen in the source of the will. Shenikra rotzen poshet. That's called a simple will. In other words, not a non-expressive will. And in the Zoyar, nikra raive de chol raivim, the want of all the wants. This is higher than the revealed rotzen. So inyan hapurim, this is the idea of purim. Shegavoya yoser gam b'chinas yom hakipurim. That is higher than Yom HaKippurim, because that is like Purim, and the girl is higher than Yom Kippur. Yom HaKippurim Nikra Kippurim. It's like Purim. It's like Purim. Kloimar, as to say, it's Kimoy HaPurim. It's like Purim. B'chof Hadimyem Bilvad. It's only compared to one. Beloy Kimoy Purim Mamish, but it's not actually like Purim. Miklal. So from this you see. Shapurim atzmei govoya miyom HaKippurim. So you see that Purim itself is higher than Yom Kippur, because that's only compared to Yom Kippurim, but Purim is higher. So what's the Purim? Well, inyan v'ikach. The idea is as such, as follows: the yosh shagam b'yom HaKippurim hayu inyan hagarolos b'snei hasirim v'nei Hashem chut. On Yom Kippur, there were the lotteries with the two goats, the Fnei Hashem Chulu. Shezeu Gamkein, over there was large. Shezeu Gamkein Tolui, over there too, it hinges between the Rotzen HaPoshut, the simple will, Moker Kol Retzenes Chulu Kinal. The source of all the Retzenes Kinal. So in that way, it has a similar to what we say about Purim, was the level of Goydel. Ach Mekol Makoim, Hoya Tolui B'oifun HaTshuva. Still, it hinged on the way they did Shuvah. Sharei Yom HaKippurim eine mechaper bilti emtzos haTshuva davka, because Yom Kippur does not forgive without the intermediary of Tshuva specifically. V'agam she'aTshuva hi b'chinas Tshuva ilo, and even though the Tshuva is the higher level of Tshuva, Mesiras Nefesh, which is self-sacrifice, and Umikol Makom. So it's taka. So without doing this higher level of tshuva, Yom Kippur will not atone. But on Purim there is an advantage. Further, that doesn't exist in Kippur. That is the Mesiras Nefesh that they had, which was totally beyond any reason or rationale. The Hainu, Beheder Shum Chayfetz Zurot Chulu, built till Hashem Levadi Canal. This without that should be no other desire and want, only to Hashem alone canal. That's the level of Makif, the level of Mesiras Nefesh, the true Mesiras Nefesh. V'zehu Akain Koru LaYomim Eila Purim. Called these days Purim. V'heim Yemei Mishta V'Simcha, and they are days of partying and rejoicing. Shu B'chinas His Galus Eires B'Kelim Davke. So those are the revelation, the Eires in the Kelim, because you make a Simcha, you make a Mishta. So that means that the great light comes down and invests. Through the joy, that's the way we get the revelation of the light. But in the future to come, over there it's written in the pasuk, they will cry, they will come with tears, with crying. That the light will not be able to settle in a keli to bring about joy. That's what they're going to come with, crying, with tears. But on Purim, on Purim, in which they merited even a greater level. That is the true level of Mesiras Nefesh. Liyos devokim ba'atzmus Ein Sof, to be connected to the essence of the Ein Sof. So that he has stronger abilities. When you talk about atzmus, sheyuchel lishkem bekli, he can rest in a vessel. Even in a situation where the keli cannot, on the order of Ishtalshus, tolerate such a high light, it can rest there. Because it's much higher than the Ishtalshus. That's why they're called Day of Mishta V'Simcha. Kenichnas Yayin Yoitze Hasoid. When the wine comes in, the secret comes out. Davke. The Bechinas Hagilu B'Kelim Davke. So the soid comes out. It comes out the revelation Kelim. U'Bechinas Abba B'Tanugim Shel Lifnei Hatzilus. That's the love of the light which is before, above, in front of Atzilus. Mipnei Shebatzilus Eina Klis of Lot. In Atzilus, the vessel cannot tolerate it over there. But when you talk about the level of Abba B'Tanugim, which is higher than Atzilus, that's the expression that can come out in a cave. Haman wanted to receive himself from the level of the Atzmus Ein Sof. Shenikra Raiva de Chol Raiva. Ustimu de Chol Stimin. The Ratzin of all the Ritzonos and the hidden of all the okay. Also Hakoil Umas HaKedusha. He did everything opposite the Kedusha, Mamash. So he also run lotteries. Just like in Kedusha, there's lotteries, which we just said the Goyrel is on the highest level. He made lotteries too. The fact that he made the lottery because he raised himself with chutzpah and additional haughtiness. Like we find it, Pasuk says by the Akum, im takbia kanesha chulu, if you will raise like an eagle, that's a higher level of hisnasus. Inyan hagba azois ugamkin lamayla min hadas v'haseichel. This raising, this haughtiness is higher than rationale and the intellect, than the knowledge. V'gam lamayla min hararotzit. And that is also higher than Ratzin. It's in a higher level than Ratzin. So, Sheyipil Gamkin Goyrolis, Aleiza Yem Sheyipil Kachia. The lottery was whatever day it falls on, so that's the way it should be. And then it says, V'Apollos HaGoyrol was Lifnei Haman. That he made the Goyrel ahead of Haman, which means, Hainu, what does it mean? Lifnei Haman. Hainu shehipila Goyrel liyos ritzoinoi tolu begoyrel. That he threw the lottery so that his wish should hinge on the Goyrel. Kedugmas, Hagola, Kedugmas, Apollo's Gorolu, Shnei Asinim B'Yom HaKippurim, Lifnei Hashem. Like over there, the Shnei was before Hashem, and Chol Zeh, Sherotzel Li'isnasis U'Leidamis L'Kedusha L'Yoina, B'Chdei She'ikabel Gam Hashem. So he wanted to raise himself and to compare himself to the Kedusha so that he can get from there. Ach Hashem, Heishiv Machshavtei Haro, Hashem returned his bad thought, Ashachoshav Yehudim Al Reshoi V'Tolo Yisrael Hezbon of Chulu. What he thought in Yudin, they put it back on his head, they hung him on his sin, Al Kain, Kodul Yom Me'el Pur, Al Shem Apur, they commanded the Pur, Shalamaylo Meyem HaKippurim Kenal. He was using the level of Yom Kippur, but this is even higher than Yom Kippur. This is Rai B'Dechol Rai. And after that, Kimu v'Kiblu HaYehudim v'Chulu Ad v'Yimei HaPurim Ha'ela L'Yavrim Tech HaYehudim. Till the Pasuk says that these days of Purim will never pass from the Yidden Pirush Shenishar B'Chinas Rishima B'Chinas Chosam, that there was a mark left in a way of a seal from that shine that was by the Purim story, in a lasting, eternal way, about Timait Lo'ilam, that it will never move, always there. Razal, as the sages tell us, that Kol HaMoyadim B'Telim, all of the festivals will cease. Lefi Shekol HaMoyadim Heim B'Chinas Oiresh Shabikelim, because all the Yom Tovim there, that goes according to the evolution of Atzilus B'ri Yitzira. But when the light comes before Atzilus, then the vessels are not prepared, and they will be nullified. But as opposed to these days Purim, Shehem, Yemei Mishta v'Simcha, they are days of partying and joy. B'Kli, over there the light will reach the Gvele. Even the light which is before Shtalshus will also come down. I said before the Tam, because in Atzmus it can come down even in this Keli. The days of Purim will never pass. Also in the future, because this is even a higher level. And the Zichram, the Yosef Mizaram, and the remember will not cease from their seed.